We got the XM satellite radio ads. These are great. This is why we're brilliant broadcasters. We see the future. We saw the future many years ago before we fucked up on commercial radio.
I see flying cars and Mylar suits in the next 10 years. Everybody's going to be wearing Mylar suits. We will have flying cars. We got this right.
Yeah, we certainly did get this right.
We can predict the future now.
So just to give you the setup,
Criswell.
Before we became the pioneers of satellite radio, Anthony and I were doing the old commercial radio thing.
Way back when. Barely remember what that was like.
We were very successful, syndicated across America in some fine markets, and then we blew it up.
Might have heard of a little town called Boston.
That's right.
Might have heard a little hamlet of Philadelphia.
Let's not forget Columbus, Ohio.
Can't we, please? And, of course, New York City, the crossroads of the world, perhaps.
How about Vegas?
Philly,
D.C., Dallas, San Francisco, Seattle.
How about a chilly little place called Buffalo, New York?
Buffalo and Rochester, New York. There you have it.
Just a few of the markets. That was everyone. How about New Orleans?
New Orleans, that's right. Cleveland. Chicago.
Dallas, Texas.
I said Dallas already.
I like to say Dallas, so I said it again.
All right. Sacramento, California.
Sacramento.
Anyway, so we're doing quite well, and everybody wanted to advertise on our show. Even XM satellite radio.
They knew.
They knew
the demo we held, the power we held with it. They knew who they wanted initially when the satellite started up.
And right off the bat, this goes back easily 3 years. Right off the bat, we're like, this is the future of radio. It's growing by leaps and bounds. This is definitely competition. We have to look at it as competition right off the bat.
What did you honestly think when you first heard, like, satellite radio, you can say whatever the hell you want? Weren't you thinking somewhere, I want to be on that?
Absolutely. But at the time, first of all, we were in a contract. Second of all,
we were doing really well.
We were doing really well, and satellite radio was still kind of just growing, you know?
They only had, at this point, they only had a few 100,000 listeners.
Probably, yeah. Probably less than 1 million.
It had to be less than 1 million.
Yeah. I don't even know.
Over 3, dude. We were off for 2 fucking years.
So this is over 3, maybe 3.5, 4 years
ago. I'm sure they had under 1 million listeners and subscribers. And, you know, to go over there, it was almost, everyone was equating it to, like, E-Yada, that online radio, where, 50 people at a time could listen, and then it started clipping. And people on it were, like, approaching us and going, dude, it's the future. Is this internet radio? And I'm like, no, it's not.
No, I can't get my computer on the dashboard, so
can't get it in the car, especially at that point. Yeah, you couldn't do that. So no, it wasn't. We weren't considering it.
Right.
Timing wise, it worked out perfectly.
What's interesting about this goes back, like I said, 3 to 4 years ago, and guys on regular radio today are still denying that satellite radio is going to be anything.
Yep.
Dummies. A bunch of dummies out there. So, we did not feel good about taking the XM satellite radio ads as we're doing our commercial radio show.
We let it be known.
And they're like, just shut up and play the commercials, right? And one day, we had it. We absolutely had it. So the commercial's playing for XM satellite radio, and the commercials are saying how great XM is, and I just turned on the mics and said, fuck this.
The sound.
100 digital channels of music.
The competition
news,
is now advertising on our show,
coast
Anthony.
to coast. So whether you're into hip hop or
we have
bebop,
sales
news or
whores
blues,
that work in this
rock
building.
stars or stock cars, you'll hear more, know more, and go deeper than you ever did before.
What I'm hooked on right now is blues stuff. They have a wide variety of things I've never heard before. I could drive all the way to New York, never have to change the channel.
It's easy to add XM to any existing car stereo,
Turn off the
starting as low as $300.
satellite
Visit your
radio's
local
here.
electronics store
You
for a demonstration.
effing whores
Learn
upstairs.
more at xmradio.com.
What?
It is absolutely fabulous.
Beyond AM,
This is the
beyond FM,
competition.
XM,
Wake up!
radio to the power of X. Price may vary by model and retailer. Some models require additional installation fee. Antenna and subscription also required.
Douchebag.
What are you doing this New Year's Eve?
Isn't that amazing?
Opie's just yelling like a maniac right over the commercial.
Isn't that amazing, though?
That wasn't a recording, by the way, of the commercial playing and then Opie off air ranting about it.
Oh, no, that was on the air.
That is how it aired.
That's how their fine commercial aired. XM should get their money back for that one.
They did when they signed us.
Just letting the Trojan horse come rolling in.
Yeah.
God.
Hey, this is a pretty horse for them to lead for us.
Just to put it in perspective, that would be like us running ads for Howard. for the other satellite radio company.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Taking their money and going,
Same
well,
thing.
it's money, it's revenue, who cares? It's the competition.
And that's what their the party line was over at Infinity was, hey, they're paying for it. We'll air their commercials. They saw it as no threat. They saw it. They had no vision that this was going to do anything.
Yeah.
And they just saw it as, hey, take their money.
It's so short-sighted. You got to be cutthroat.
well,
Cutthroat.
Fuck you.
Right?
Advertise on the internet.
it gets better. So then when we were done with our 15 minutes of commercials, we finally got to go back to our regular show, and this is how we got back into it.
We're back with the Opie and Anthony Show. Oi! And it's official. We have a bunch of whores that work for this company. That's for sure. Holy S. We're running a spot on the Opie and Anthony Show for satellite radio.
Yeah, satellite radio. You know, it's the new...
And no one has a
new
problem
rage.
with this in this company? That's called the competition. And
Right.
they're advertising during our show, telling people basically that they have another option out there.
that all over, like, no matter where you drive, you won't lose the signal. They're talking about all this great stuff that you don't get by listening to the very station that's advertising it. Who gave the okay to take that?
Bunch of whores. It's hard enough to compete in this day and age in radio, and now they're just going to run spots for the competition on our show. And they have no problem with this whatsoever.
So there you go. Just so you're not confused, that's us, 4 years ago about on regular radio, just losing our minds because they're running XM spots during our show.
And it was so obvious that people were starting to get excited about satellite radio. It was something that, as we were listening to it, you'd say to yourself, wow, that does sound cool. You get all kinds of formats of music. You could drive coast to coast and not have to change the station once if you don't want to.
Right.
It's not regulated by the FCC.
Right.
This is fan-fucking-tastic.
And this proves we're brilliant broadcasters because now 3-4 years later, regular radio is in deep trouble.
In deep trouble, and
They could have controlled it a little bit if they were smart enough to see what was coming 4 years
Yep.
ago.
They still advertise, though, right? They still allow them to advertise?
No, finally they've turned the corner, most of these radio companies, and they will not accept spots for satellite radio. Finally. Wow. It continues here.
they're making spots against satellite radio now.
Exactly.
Now, the same stations that were airing, hey, this satellite radio is great. Come on over. We'd love to have you. Are now going, hey, why
wait
pay
a
for
minute.
radio? Now they're all, why pay for fucking radio, man? You don't want to pay for it.
Well, we got the famous one. We got like 10 of them, but here's the one we really like.
Here's some of the same stations
So now
that
this
were
is-
running the commercials you just heard.
Right, now this is today, what they're doing on regular radio.
In music news, you'll never believe who was arrested on stage last night for performing a lewd act. It was so outrageous, we can't even describe it on the radio. You might expect this behavior from heavy metal or rap stars, but this time, the guilty party is none other than the easy listening sensation.
Please deposit 25 cents for the next 3 minutes.
Radio. You shouldn't have to pay for it. This message brought to you by America's 13,000 local radio stations who believe some things were just meant to be free.
A bit hypocritical, isn't it?
Don't pay no attention to those commercials we aired 3 or 4 years ago. We really didn't mean it. We were just in for the cash.
That's right. I bought a new boat from that money.
So outrageous, we can't even tell you on the radio.
Yeah, they're still not getting it right.
But they can on satellite, by the way.
Yeah.
You know how she was saying?
edited in the old XM commercial right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So then going back, here's us on commercial radio. Really pissed off because we have XM commercials on our show. We discuss it more here.
They bought our show because we have a huge audience, okay?
Yeah.
And the commercial's basically telling everyone that you don't need to, listen to Opie and Anthony. There's other choices out there. Why don't they just run a commercial with every other show that is on, against us?
Yeah.
And then have the listeners decide, well, I'm going to try out a couple of these shows.
I got an idea. Here's what he's going to say. Oh, they're not going to do well. It's just like that click radio and the e-yada and all the internet radio thing that failed. So we'll take a little bit of their money, and it'll just fail anyway. But the thing is, it's not like internet radio. It's going to be installed in cars and stuff.
Oh, that HBO, it'll never catch on.
That'll never catch on.
That's silly. People paying for TV, it'll never happen.
If man were meant to fly, he'd have wings.
That is a huge insult, man. I hope they're getting a lot of money to whore themselves out like that.
Man can't ride on trains. Don't you know if a human being exceeds 30 miles an hour, he will surely perish? You know, they used to think that.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It really is.